Okay, so we're on Chesim and Beis on the bottom. Gemara says the Mishnah had said, the beginning of the Mishnah, Ein poichsin me'arba chadashim mubarim b'shana. You can't have less than 4 months in the year with 30 days. Right? There's a possibility of having 29 or 30 days. You shouldn't have less than 4 months that have the extra day. And not shouldn't be seen more than 8. The Gemara is going to explain what that is. We're going to have a machlekes hamarayim. So it says the Gemara, "My lo'nira yeser al shmoina." What does it mean lo'nira yeser al shmoina? It's not seen more than 8. Omar of huna lo'nira lachachamim. It's not nira to. It doesn't seem to the chachamim. La'aber yeser al shmoina, to be able to make more than 8 months with an extra day. Right, so it's saying ein pochsin ma'arba chadashim mubarim, not less than 4, not more than 8. That's what it's saying according to Rav Huna. Ma'ish Natisha says the Gemara, why not 9 deloi? That you should. Why wouldn't you do it? Because then the moon will come 3 days before Rosh Hashanah. Hashtanami. So now too, when we did 8, right? Not more than 8, but if you do 8, Hashtanami kakadem asi treyam, is now comes 2 days before. Okay, so what's going on? The moon has the cycle of the moon is 29 days, 29 and a half days. Katiyab tashtzag, that's the symbol. Chof tes yoim, yud beis shois, and then tashtzag tafshin tzadi gimel chalakim, which is 793 chalakim. Right, so chalakim is 1,080 chalakim are in 1 hour. So Tashtzag Chalakim is like 44 minutes, around 44 minutes. So in order for us to make days out of a month, right? We base our month based on the moon, right? So now if the cycle would be perfect, it would be perfect. The problem is it's not perfect. It's 29 and a half days. Right? So what do you do with that half a day? You can't have a month that ends in the middle of the day. Right? So what we do is, in order to compensate for that half a day, so usually we have 6 months that are 29. 6 months that are 30, then it makes up for it. So it comes Rosh Hashanah, you're basically there. Except we're going to see in the Gemara discusses what about the extra chalakim. So the 44 minutes a month adds up every year into 8 hours, and then 8 hours in 3 years is 24 hours, which means you'd have to add another day every 3 years. And then the chalakim takes 30 years for it to add up. And then, okay. So the rest of the chalakim, the rest of it takes 30 years. So the problem is that if you are ma'aber shana, if you're ma'aber shana, if you have an extra month that has an extra day, instead of having exactly 6 and 6, so you can have an extra day in the year, right? So if you had an extra day in the year, you added, let's say, 1 month, you added another day, which means that the moon's ahead of you. While you're adding a day to your calendar, the natural moon will be ahead of you, right? So therefore, if you added 1 day, it's going to be 1 day ahead, 2 days ahead, 3 days ahead. So right, that's what the Gemara is saying. So Ma'ish Latish Delo, if you have 9 months, which are 3 extra than 6, right? You really should have 6, but you had 9, so you have 3 extra days. So now the moon will come 3 days ahead of you. And that's a problem. Why? Because we want the months to really coincide with the actual natural moilad of the Levana, the new moon, right? And now you have 3 days discrepancy. So but now that you're telling me you're allowed to do 8, now I'll do 9. Okay, but you're allowed to do 8. Okay, so it's still 2 extras, so it's going to be 2 days extra. So okay, the Amar Rabbi says in Gemara, we're going to use this teretz a few times. The Amar Rabbi Misharshia, it's like a Misharshia said, it's when that year was Mu'uberes. That's what Misharshia said. So Hachanami will apply Rabbi Misharshia's teretz. We're going to see where he said it. Hachanami going to Mu'uberes, the year before this year. It's a good question why it has to be the year before, but either way, the Gemara is saying it has to be the year before. The year before this year was Mu'uber, the Ibur Shana Chaydish, and the extra when the Shana, right? The Shana's Mu'uber is when you had an extra month. When you have an extra month, is it 29 days or is it 30 days? Right. So over here, what they did was Ibur Shana's Chaydish. They did it 29 days. Right, so if they did it 29 days, So now they're a day behind because they had a month that they had an odd month, right? The 13th month in the previous year that they didn't compensate for, right? So now comes the next year, they're still lagging behind for that. Not lagging behind. They're still ahead. They're a little bit ahead because they didn't wait for the moon an extra, right? All they did was 29 days. They didn't wait for the moon an extra 12 hours, really, right? Because they're missing out. We're doing Hilchos Kiddush HaChodesh today. Yeah. So the Gemara is talking about the Mishnah is when you have months, you have 29 day months or 30 day months. So the Gemara is saying now that if you had Shana Mubaras, right, which means there's an extra month. So in the extra month you added 29 days and not 30 days. So now the moon cycle is 29 and a half days, right? So now you're really half a day. You're half a day behind, right? So now comes the next year, and comes the Rosh Hashanah of the next year. Even if you're ma'aber it twice, even if you do 2 extra months with 30 days, right? You're only a day and a half. You're not 2 days. Let's put it this way: you're not 2 days behind, right? You only have 1 full day behind, right? So that's what the Gemara is saying. Okay, we're going to show you the Shana Shalvanah Muberes. Ve'ibur Shana is a Chodesh. And Ibur Shana is a Chodesh, and you did it. Let's say you did it 29 days. So then Dal Yarcha Malia, you should take the full month, one of the extra full months, Bahad Yarcha Chasera, and calculate it Keneged the missing month. V'akati Chad Yoma. So the more V'akati Chad Yoma. I is still 1 day discrepancy. There is 1 full day and even a little bit more day and a half. The Gemara says people don't care. People don't notice if the moon comes 1 day before Rosh Hashanah. I mean, if the moon will come 3 days before Rosh Hashanah, that's going to be very strange to people. But the Chachamim are setting up the calendar that the moon comes 3 days before Rosh Hashanah. It's supposed to be the first day of the month, right? And now it's 3 days after the moon. What's going on, right? So therefore, but if it's only 1 day, it's okay, right? Okay, so now Ula Omar, the Gemara is going to give a new teretz to the Mishnah. So let's see. The Mishnah said, Ein Perchim Arba Chodashim Mubar Bashana. You can't have less than 4 months with 30 days, right? So Mubar. Just the Chazah. What we said is that in the lunar year, our calendar is based on the lunar year, right? So lunar months are naturally, this full cycle of the moon is 29 and a half days plus a little more also. But it's basically 29 and a half days, and therefore, in 1 year, to make sure we keep on being set up basically with the moon, right? We can't have 29, because then we're going to be way ahead of the moon, right? The moon takes 29 and a half days to make a full cycle, right? So what we do is that we do half the months of the year, 29 days, and half the months of the year, 30 days, right? So Azoi, for the months that we only do 29 and we're missing the 12 hours, right? So we do a month that's 30 days. That's an extra hour, right? Extra to 12 hours, right? So now, so it compensates. The problem is when you add, if you mess up the schedule, al yidei adding another day to one of the months. Instead of doing 6 and 6, you did 4 and 8, right? So that's what the Mishnah is talking about. You can't do less than 4 months with 30 days, right? So the Gemara just given one explanation in Leinir Yetzer Al Shemaina that you can't have more than 8 full months. Let's call them full and mole and chasa, right? You can't have more than 8 mole months. And now the Gemara is giving another explanation. That's Ula. He says Leinir Lachachamim. The Chaser Yeser Al Shemaina. He says what this means is that the Chachamim, it did not seem to the Chachamim that we should be allowed to be mechaser less than Shemaina, that we should be allowed to make less than 4 months, less than 8 months that are chaser. More than 8 months that are chaser. So essentially, the first and second clause in the Mishnah are saying the same thing. You can't have less than 4 ubarim b'shana, Right? You can't have less than 4 that are mole. Why? Because the Chachamim didn't want to have less than 8 that are missing. Right? So, didn't want to have more than 8 that are missing. Right? Not more than 8 that are missing. And that's what Ula says. They didn't want to have less than 8 chaserim in a year. My time. What's the reason that you don't have less than 4 months that are male? You have to have at least 4 months. Why? We don't have more than 8 months that are chaser. Says the Gemara, why don't you want to have 9 months that are chaser? Right? Meaning, regularly we would have 6 months that are chaser and 6 months that are male. If you add another, instead of having 6 mole, you only have 3 mole, right? So you have 9 months that are chaser. So what's going to end up being? The moon is going to be prolonged 3 days after Rosh Hashanah. Why? Because you decreased 3 days to the year. You decreased 3 days to your calendar, right? So it's going to take you, if you decrease 3 days to your calendar, right? So then you're ahead of the moon. The calendar is ahead of the moon, right? Because you went too quickly, right? You didn't wait another 3 days. You went too quickly, so now the moon is going to be 3 days after Rosh Hashanah, right? So that's the problem. That's why you can't do mechaser an extra 3 days to the year. But hashtanami, but you're 8. You're telling me you're allowed to be mechaser, right? Not more than 8, right? You're allowed to be mechaser 8. So then the same thing. Hashtanami coming yaser treyim. It's 2 days. It's a 2 days discrepancy. The moon's going to be 2 days after Rosh Hashanah. How's that okay? There's more. The same thing Misharashi has said before. You're going to trust Shana Mu'beres. The previous year was Mu'beres. So there was an extra month. And what you do? So Hachanami, you're going to trust Shana Mu'beres. The year before was Me'uber. You added an extra month that had 30 days. Right? So you added an extra month that has 30 days, so now you're a little bit more ahead. So Dal Yarcha Chasera, Bad Yarcha Malia, you should put the missing month from this year, Bad Yarcha Malia from the previous year, right? And when you calculate them together, so you're not missing 2 days. Right? You're missing a day and a half. Says the Gemara, Bakati Kachal Yomai, still 1 day. Says the Gemara, Savri, people say, is Chaziv anan lav adatim. People won't say, oh, where's the moon? Right? Why? Because they said it was seen, we just didn't notice it. Right? So it's not such a big deal if you just have a day and a half discrepancy. Okay, says the Gemara, Good morning. Asks the Gemara, what is the machlokes in Ula and Ravuna? Why does one have to explain the Mishnah that it's chaser? We're saying not more than 8 me'ubers, and one is explaining not more than 8 chaser. Right? What's the machlokes? So the Gemara, the ibur shana. They're arguing about the extra month of the year. The extra month of the year, that if we have a shana mu'beres, right? Shana mu'beres is there to make sure that the solar year, because even we go with the lunar calendar, but still we want to make sure that the seasons, the solar seasons, the seasons which are based on the sun, the solar cycle, 365 days a year, right? The Pesach has to be in the Aviv, right? So we need to make sure that the lunar month, the lunar calendar fits with the solar calendar too, and therefore every once in a while we have to add a month, right? So now that extra month that we add, is it 29 days or is it 30 days? What do we do, right? So we've been playing around with it in the previous Amud, but the Gemara is saying that's really the machlokes. The Tanya Kama Ibur Shana is Lamed. Tana Kama holds it has to be Lamed. I'm Shimon Gamil or Chodesh. Shlomo says no, it's like a regular month, which we could go either way, right? So the Gemara is saying that Rav Huna holds like Rashbag. Rav Huna is the one who says that the Mishnah means that you can add at least 8 months. Right? In order to add at least 8 months, you have to be able to have a month from a previous year, that Shana Mu'beres, that was missing. Right? If you're adding 8, if you're adding another 2 days to the year, you can't add 3. We can add 2. I mean, you can't have Tisha Chodashim that are Mali. You can have 8 Chodashim that are Mali. You can have 2 extra days, right?
1 extra day. It's 2 extra days.
Well, it's good. It's 2 extra days. The only way 2 days is not a problem is because the previous year had a Shana Muberes and you added 20 a month of 29. That's the way the Gemara answers the question. The Gemara had asked. Right.
Half a day. It's only 1 day extra. Just half days. No. No. So the regular. The way it should be is 6 and 6, 6 and 6, right? That's the way it should be, and then everything calculates itself because you have 29, 6 that are 29, and the halves are given to the months that are 6 that are mole, right? But now, so that's the way it should be. All the math works out, right? But then, if you added another 2 days instead of doing 29 and 29, two out of the 6 months are supposed to be 29. You add an extra 2 days, so now it's 2 days. Right? That's a full 2 days extra, right? Because right. So it's a full 2 days extra. If the end of the month is 29, that takes away.
Right. No. So the Gemara asked if it's full 2 days extra, you don't want to make it 3 days extra. Meaning you don't want to make 9 months smaller, right? But so why is 2 okay? That was the Gemara's question in the beginning of Testament Aleph. Why is 2 okay? Is 2 days ahead. Says the Gemara because last year we had a Shana Muberes, and we had a Shana Muberes that knocked things off because the Shana Muberes was 20. The extra month of the Shana Muberes was 29 days, right? So now we're already 12 months behind, right? So therefore, says the Gemara, now that we added 2 days, we didn't really add 2 days. We had 2.5 days. Or we had 1.5 days, right? But you're only able to say the Pshat of the Mishnah if you have the flexibility of being able to say that the Chodesh Me'uber that you added in the previous year was 29. If it has to be 30, you're going to be 2.5 days, right? You're going to be even more off, right? So therefore, Rabbi Huna, who holds that it's shaykh to say that the previous Ibur was 29, he has to hold like Rashbag, who holds the Chodesh can go either way. But what happens? Ula can't say that because he happens to hold. That's where it starts. He holds that it has to be Lamed Yom. And if it has to be Lamed Yom, he can't say Rav Huna's Pshat in the Mishnah because then you're going to be way behind. Therefore, he flips the Pshat in the Mishnah. He says the Pshat in the Mishnah is the Mishnah saying you can't have more Chaserim than 8 days, right? But you can't have more than 8 Chaserim. You can't have more than 8 Chaserim as the same kasha. Now the moon is going to be ahead of you, right? The moon's going to be the opposite. You're going to be ahead of the moon. The moon is going to come 2 days after Rosh Hashanah. Why is that okay? So he has to answer because the previous year's Shana Muberes made us ahead of the time. Why? Because it's 30 days, and that's okay because he holds like Tanakama that has to be Lamed Yom. But he doesn't have the flexibility of saying that it could be Chav Tes Yom. That's the point, and therefore he can't say like Rav Huna. He can only say like his pshat. Rav Huna has the flexibility, so he says his pshat. Okay, so that's the machlekes. Machlekes, this is what do you do in the Ibur Shana when you add a month to the year? Is it a 29-day month? Is it a 30-day month? And that's where the machlekes starts. Asks the Gemara, Meisi vei ein atzeres chala atzeres, which is Shavuos, is not chal ela b'yom henef, only on the day of henef. The day of henef is when they do the tnufa on the omer, right, which is the second day of Pesach. So Shavuos will always be chal on the day of the week. That's what it means. The day of the week, whatever the second day of Pesach was, whatever day of the week it was. So then Shavuos will also be on that exact day. Ve'enu Rosh Hashanah chala ela oy b'yom henef. Rosh Hashanah is only chal either b'yom henef oy la'ari buray, or the ari buray means the next day. La'ari buray means the next day after
following this on this calendar.
Right, which is the next day. And it's already Ibura means 30, means Nisan's, the Ibur of Nisan would be the 30th day, right? And then Ari Ibura would be the next day. The next day when we say Rosh Chodesh is essentially, let's say we have Nisan is 30 days, right? And then the 31st day we say is Rosh Chodesh Iyar, right? So when Rosh Chodesh Iyar comes around, right, and we proclaim the 31st day as really the first day of Iyar, right? So that tells us that the previous days, that solidifies the month, right? So that's why it's called Or Iburoi, because it's after the Ibur. It's right after the Ibur, after the extra 30th day. So that's why it's called Or Ibur. But either way, it means it's either the same day of the week as Rosh Hashanah is either chal on the day of Yom Henef, which is the day of Tes Zayin Nisan, the second day of Pesach,
Oilo Ariburoi, or the same day as the 31st as the 31st day of Nisan. Okay, now why is this true? Because if you do the cheshbon, so we'll do the first one. Why? Because you start counting, right? You start counting the Omer, which is 50 days, right? You start counting on the second day of Pesach, right? And you count 49 days, and then the Shavuos, right? You count 49 days on the Shavuos. 49 is divisible by 7, right? So it's 7 times. You finish the full cycle of the week, and then when you finish that, the next day, you're back to the first day of the week, right? So let's say it was a Wednesday. Let's say the second day of Pesach was a Wednesday, and that's when you start counting the Omer, right? So you're going to be finished counting 7 weeks on a Tuesday, right? Because Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday to Tuesday, Wednesday to Tuesday. So then the first day after that, which is Shavuos, is going to be the same day as the one you started, right? So it's going to be a Wednesday. So that's why Ein Atzeres Chala Ela B'Yom Henef. Ein Rosh Hashanah Chala Ela Oy B'Yom Henef Oy Ribura is also, it's the same thing. We're going to see why either one's Yom Henef, one's Ribura, but it's also a similar cheshbon. Tes Zayin Nisan, right? Tes Zayin Nisan is always going to be a day after Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Is that right? Is that true? Is that if because Aleph to Zayin, right? 1 to 7. Aleph to Zayin Nisan is 1 week, right? And then 8 to 14, right, is another week. So then the next day is going to be 1 to 14 is another week. The 15th day is going to be the same day as Rosh Chodesh, right? The 15th day is going to be the same day as Rosh Chodesh. As one, right? It's the same day of the week as Aleph.
Right.
Tesvav and Aleph are going to be on the same week, on the same day of the month, right? That should be always true. That because Aleph to Zayin and then Ches is the same day as same day of the week as
15, 22,
Aleph,
29.
right? And then Ches to, right? So 15 is always 15. Aleph and 15, Aleph, Ches, and 15 are going to be the same day of the week, right? So that means that Tes Zayin with Yom Henef, which is the 16th, is going to be the day after, right? So Beis Nisan, so now just go back, the second day of Nisan is going to be the same day as Rosh Hashanah, right? So if we say that Ein Rosh Hashanah Chala Ela B'Yom Henef, it means that Rosh Hashanah is going to be the same day as the second day of Nisan. Now why does that work out? Because you have 6 months. Between Nisan and Rosh Hashanah, you have 6 months. Now in a regular year, what happens is you have 29. We split 6 and 6, right? So after Nisan, you have 6 months. 3 of them are Mali, 3 of them are Chaser. Now in every month, in every Chaser month, you have 29 days. In every Mali month, you have 30 days. Now, so 3 times 29, right? How many extra days? 29 is divisible by 7 4 times, right? So you have 28 is 4 weeks. 28 days is 4 weeks, and you have 1 extra day, right? But you have 3 of those months that are 29, so you have 3 extra days, right? And then of the 30 days, you have 6 extra days because 28 days, each month has 2 extra days. Right? We're just trying to make it divisible by 7, right? So you have 28, and so you have 2 times, you have 6, which means you have 9. You have 9 days. Take away 7 of them because that's another week. So now you're 2 days. You're in 2 days discrepancy, right? You're 2 day discrepancy from the day you started, from Rosh Chodesh, right? So that's Ori Burai. Ori Burai, the 31st day is always going to fall. I think the 31st day is the day after Yom Henef. That's the way it comes out. I think that's what either Rashi says, or I think I was cheshboning yesterday. That's what comes out. Yeah, Rashi says like this. Again, if Rosh Chodesh Nisan was Aleph b'Shabbos, or Ori Burai Shlishi b'Shabbos. That's the way it always is going to work. You just look on the calendar. That's what's going to work out. The first day.
8, 15, 22, 29.
So the 31st is going to be 2 days later, right? So that's why it's saying that Rosh Hashanah is going to be Chal and Ori Burai because it's 2 days later. Because 7, it's all weeks until plus 2 days. So Rosh Hashanah is always going to fall out on the third day of Nisan, right? Okay, so this is the brisa. So now the Gemara is going to ask a kasha from the Brisa. And so ein atzeres chal ela b'yom henef, ein rosh hashanah chal ela b'yom henef oy lo ribura. Says the Gemara, Bishlam Ula. According to Ula, who holds the Shmona Chaser and Avdinan, Mu'ubar Avdinan, you could have 8 Chaser months, right? 8 Chaser months, you're gonna have if you have 8 Chaser months, which means that one of the months, and one of the extra Chaser months, so you have 2 extra Chaser months. One extra Chaser months are going to be Chaser where after Nisan, right? So which means that you're going to have one less day than the Cheshbon we just did, right? Which means it's going to come out on Yom Henef, not the day after Yom Henef, right? Yom Henef there's Rosh Chodesh, then the Yom Henef. There's the first day of the week. The day of the week it will start with is Rosh Chodesh. The next day of the week is going to be Yom Henef. The next day of the week is Ari Bura, right? So now, but if you make another month chaser, so you're missing a day, so you don't have 2 extra days at the end of all the cheshboning weeks. You have only 1 extra day. You took away a day, right? So therefore, it's going to be a day earlier. It's going to be the Yom Henef, right? But if you have 2, right? So Bishlam will do Shmona Chaser and Avdinan, Mu'ubar and Avdinan. If you do chaser, so therefore Mishkachas Lo Shneim Chaser, it's Yom Henef. If you made an extra one of those months instead of being full, actually means you took away a day. So you're only 1 day discrepancy from Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So you're only 1 day after Rosh Chodesh Nisan. That's Yom Henef, right? But Echad Molei v'Echad Chaser. So if you did it the natural way of doing 6 and 6, and the whole year was just 6 and 6, and you kept on switching off between Molei and Chaser, Molei and Chaser, Molei and Chaser. So then it's La'ari Bure, because you're 2 days discrepancy from Rosh Chodesh Nisan, right? Hello, Rav Huna, but according to Rav Huna, the Amar Avdina Mu'ubarin, you do 8 moles, right? 8 pregnant months, meaning 8 moles. So now, so now, if you added, instead of switching off 1 mole, 1 chasa, 1 mole, 1 chasa, you did an extra mole, which means that you have an extra 1 day. So now, if you cheshbon all the weeks, you do 3 days remainder that aren't divisible by 7. Right? So you have so now Rosh Hashanah is la'or ibure, not la'or ibure, not 2 days after Rosh Chodesh Nisan, 3 days after Rosh Chodesh Nisan, right? So why? So how could it be that you're telling me right? This the Brisa is it's telling you, giving you a calendrical reality, or a calendrical fact that it's never gonna be chal after that. So Amar Rav Huna says Rav Huna Ula minicha. According to Ula, is it going to be? Ula's not okay either. Minicha Shmoina hu delei avdina. You don't do 8 extra, right? The way Ula reads the Mishnah is you don't do 8. You don't do 8 chaserim, right? Hashiv avdin, but you do 7 chaserim, right? And if you do 7 chaserim, where are you gonna pick that? Which month is going to be that 7, right? You can't make it equal 1 before Pesach, 1 after Pesach. There only is one that's out of the ordinary, right? There is only one odd one out that's chaser. So Zimnin delei avdin b'sisur. There are some times that month that you did chaser is not going to be in the winter. It's going to be in the summer, right? V'avdin b'kaita. And then also v'hava la'ar ariburai. That's what happened. He's masking that you can't do 8 mu'ubarim, right? But you could do 7 mu'ubarim, right? So you do 7 mu'ubarim. So then and sometimes that extra day falls out after Pesach, which also will push everything off, and will push everything off, right? And you'll have la'ar ariburai, right? Yeah, because you have a 3-day discrepancy. And so even Ula, who said you can't have 8 mu'ubarim, he said you could have 7. Right, and where's that extra 7? That it might be after Pesach. So Vayter adds a day. So has even according to Uli have a shayla. Eligmar says Amani Acherim. Really, this is a different shita. It's not that Brisa is not going with our Mishnah. It's Acherim. What's Acherim shita? Tanya Acherim Oimrim Ein Ben Atzeres LaTzeres Ve'Ein Ben Rosh Hashanah LaShana Ela Arba Yomim Bilvad. They say that there's never going to be a difference between Shavuos and Rosh Hashanah LaShana. Only 4 days. Only 4 days. There's no other possibility of being more than 4 days. Why is it 4 days? It's the same thing because you have 29. They're just doing the same. We do the same cheshbon you did with the whole year. You have 29 times 6, right, plus 30 times 6. So it's going to be a remainder 4. Divided by 7 is going to be a remainder 4. Okay, we'll Ramshach afterwards. Explain. So what we were saying? We had a shiloh. We had a shiloh that according to we had a brayso. Right? There's only certain days that atzaras fall out, and that did not work according to Rav Huna. So we said that the pshat must be that it's going like a Kerem, meaning it's a different bright, it's a different man da'ama. It's a Kerem, meaning if you say Ein Rosh Hashanah Chala Ela B'Yom Hanef, right, or Ribu, right? So the problem is that according to Ula's maskim, right, Ula was the one who held that you can't. The previous years, if the previous Shana Mubaris could only be Malay, not Chasar. Right? So according to him, you can't have too many Milayim, but one Malay you could have 7, because we said 1 day discrepancy is okay. So seven Milayim in 1 year is okay, right? So even Ula's masking 7 Milayim is okay. So if so, the kasha is that you have also Ari Bure, because if you have an extra Malay, so you have an extra day, so then it falls out. It's going to be yet another day later in the week, right? Because if you have another day, it's another day extra in the week. Okay. So it's even a kasha on Ula. Says the Gemara, okay, you're right. It must be that brayso is bichlal arguing on our Mishnah in general. That brayso holds like a Kerem, right? So Elohamani Acheremi, the Tani Acheremi, ain't been Atzeres Latzeres, ain't been Rosh Hashanah Rosh Hashanah Ela Arba Yom Bilvad. There's always going to be 4 days. The Masechet is 5 days. Meaning 5 days in the week. It's a 5 day in the week separate. Why? It's the same thing. If you have Acherim hold that it's really always going to be Kesidron. Kesidron, we say Kesidron means 6 and 6. 1 Malay, 1 Chasar, 1 Malay, 1 Chasar, 1 Malay, 1 Chasar. So what happens is you have 6 months with 29 days and 6 months with 38 days. Right? So now if you just want to know the difference in the day of the week between the first Rosh Hashanah and the next Rosh Hashanah, right? So what you have to do is you have to divide all the days by 7, and then the remainder is going to be the difference, right? So too over here, you have 6 months out of 29, so that means that you have 6 days, because each one is 28, so you have an extra 6 days, and then the 30 you have another 12 days. 12 plus 6 is 18. 14 is divided by 7. You have a remainder of 4. So that's it's Ela Arba Yom Bilvad, right? Unless there's a Shana Mubaris. If there's a Shana Mubaris which has 29 days, right? So it's going to be 5 days, because it's going to be 5. But we'll see. The Acherim seem to hold that it could be whichever one. That it could be even 30 days. If it's even 30 days, it's going to be 6 days extra. The Gemara is going to take care of that, right? But either way, if you have an extra Shana Mubaris, which is 29 days. Right, so then you have 28 plus 1, so you have an extra day, so therefore it's going to be 5, right? So that's, they say, Ein ben Atzeres Ve'ein ben Rosh Hashanah Ela Arba Yom Bilvad Masechet Shana Mubaris Chamisha, right? So the point is that the Acherim have to be arguing on our Mishnah because they hold it's always going to be this way. According to our Mishnah, you can add. Our Mishnah says definitely is mashma. You can add you can take away a chaser. You can add a chaser, right? So in our Mishnah, it's got to be more flexible than just 4 and 5. So Acherim argued the students don't ask on Ula and Huna from this brayso of Yom Hanef, because I'll tell you that brayso of Yom Hanef is going according to Acherim, who for sure argue on the Mishnah, right? So now asks the Gemara, and So if you're going to pair up the two braysos, so you're going to say the first brayso that said Ein Atzeres Chala Ela B'Yom Hanef and Chala Ela B'Yom Hanef Oila Ari Burai, right? And if you're going to pair that up with Acherim, so right? So we explained that the natural way of if it's Kesidron, if from Nisan until Tishrei is Mamish Kesidron, if you have 1 Malay, 1 Chasar, 1 Malay, 1 Chasar, so it's going to come out L'Ari Bura. Right? It's only going to come out B'Yom Hanef if it's Chasar. One of them is Chasar, right? If one of the months are Chasar, so then the remainder is only going to be 1, right? But if in a regular situation, if both are Chasar, right? So the remainder is going to be if Shnei Mar Chaserim, it falls out Yom Hanef. If one is Chasar, so it falls out L'Ari Bura. Right? So we said there's Rosh Chodesh. Is Rosh Chodesh is the first day. Is Rosh Chodesh. The next day of the week is Yom Hanef. and the next day of the week is Ori Bura, right? Rosh Chodesh, Yom Hanef, and Ori Bura. So if we said that if both are chaser, right? If you have 2 months, an extra, meaning an extra chaser month between Nisan and Tishrei, so you're going to have 1 day less. So then Rosh Hashanah is going to fall out the Yom Hanef, the day of the week after Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Right? And we said this because we made a simple cheshbon that from Rosh Chodesh Nisan to Tishrei you have 3 plus. And you have 3 months of 29 and 3 months of 30, right? So which is 3 extra days from the 29 and 6 from, which is 9 minus 7 because 7 is divisible by 7, right? So you have only a remainder of 2, right? So if you have 3 and 3, and if you do consider one chaser, one mole, so then you have an extra 2 days. It's a 2 days discrepancy, so it's going to be l'ari buray. So acherim, right, who hold always has to be considered, it should always be l'ari buray, 2 days discrepancy. How, according to them, does it ever fall out that the Yom Hanef, that Rosh Hashanah falls up a Yom Hanef, right? You're pairing up acherim with that brisa. It can't be. They can't hold the Yom Hanef. They always consider on. So says the Gemara. So this is where Misharishi said his first thing. The pshat is that it was a shana muberes. The Ibr shana lamed yom. And the Ibr Shana was 30 days. It wasn't 29 days. So if you added 30 days, so according to Kerem, right, you really now 2 days extra, right? If you hold regular considering, but what happens? You added an extra month. Add an extra month, and that month, if you added 29 days, so Rosh Hashanah is going to be 5 days in the week after, right? Because you add another day. 28 plus 1 is 29. That 1 day is going to push you off 1 more day of the week. But if in the extra month that you added there 30 days, so it's going to have 2 days extra, right? So really it should be 6. So what do acherim do? Acherim hold in that situation you make a chaser. You make a chaser after Nisan. In that situation you make Iyar also chaser. Nisan and Iyar both chaser, right? So that catches you up a day. Right? If that catches you up a day, so now that's even in any Shana Uberes, you'll always have only 5 day discrepancy, right? Because either you made a 29-day month, or even if you made a 30-day month, so you took out one of the days after Nisan, you took out one of the months, you made a chaser, right? But now in that situation when you made a chaser, right? So then it comes out Yom Hanef, right? Because you took away a day. So now it's beautiful because it now it works out that Rosh Hashanah can fall out Yom Hanef because there's 1 day less, and therefore there's only a remainder 1. There's only a remainder 1 in between Rosh Hashanah, in between Rosh Chodesh Nisan and Rosh Hashanah. It's only remainder 1, so it's going to be the next day, which is Yom Hanef. Okay, so that's pshat. Right, so Kerem tries to Shana Amra Mashashi, Kerem tries to Shana Beres. The Ibur Shana is Lamid. So Dal Yarcha Bahad Yarcha, you put the 1 month next to the other month, and you're left in Mishkachas L'Biyam Hanef. So then you take the extra and minus it by the chaser, and therefore you're left with exactly Yom Hanef. Now, Amr Ba'ada Barava L'Rava asks Rabbi Rava Acherim in Yonas Lashmein. Are Acherim coming to tell us like a math? Like are they coming to tell us how many days? Just tell us that it's always Kesidron. The halacha is it has to be Kesidron. Like why are you telling me it's Minyonas? Why is it Minyonas Lashmein? Why are they telling me either 4 or 5? Why is it important to know either 4 or 5 days? It's like more Akamash Malan. They're teaching us the Leiba'ina Mitzvah L'Kadosh Al Piriyah. Their idea is that there's really a bigger question going on over here. Right? Acherim hold that you have to do Malei Chaser. If Bezdin decides for whatever reason they have an agenda to be Mekadesh, to make it an extra Malei or an extra Chaser, for whatever cheshbonus that the Gemara Shoshana talks about, because they want to make sure Yom Kippur doesn't fall out either right before Shabbos or after on a Friday or on a Sunday. You don't want to have Yom Kippur fall out on a Friday. You can't prepare for Shabbos or on Shabbos. It's not good to have Yom Kippur or other Taniyas or whatever other cheshbonus they would do Hishana Rabbo. So there's the different cheshbonus that they want. So Acherim hold no, you can't. Bezdin can't just decide what to do what they want, right? You have to. There's a rule. It's just. Now even say Acherim say it has to work mamish like clockwork, 29, 30, even if the Chodesh didn't come, even if no one saw the Lavana, right? Pashas Kiddush HaChadesh is totally Levana, but according to Kerem, no, it's not. It's not about the Levana. Once we have our calculation, even if you don't find the Levana, it's always going to be 29 and 30, 29 and 30. If it has to be 29, if it has to be a 29-day month, right? So even if you didn't see the moon, still you have to proclaim the new month Rosh Chodesh and end the month because it has to be 29. So what they're telling you is that Imamish has to be this way, and you don't need Bimkadesh al Piri, right? The loy ba'inun mitzvah l'kadesh al Piri. You don't need a mitzvah l'kadesh al Piri, and Imamish has to be this way. It's only 4 or 5, and we have to make sure. Okay. Maskif la Ravina asks Ravina, "Va'ika yomi d'shahi v'yomi d'tlas nishani." According to Kerem, how could it be so rigid and say that only 4 or 5 days in between Rosh Hashanah? Sometimes you have the day that comes out of 3 years. And as we said, that the month, right, the lunar cycle is 29 and a half days plus Tash Tzag Chalakim, 796 Chalakim, 793 Chalakim, right? So those 793 Chalakim, basically the way Chazal did it was they took the hour, which is 60 times 60, right? 60 times 60, 60 seconds times 60 minutes. They divided that into 1,080 parts, which is 3.33 seconds per part. So 1080 Chalakim, right? That's the cheshbon. The reason I brought down the reason why they did that is because it's a very easy number to divide by. 1080 can be divided by everything except for 7, meaning by 1, by 2, by 3, by 4, 5, except for 7. The only number that 1080 is whatever. So it's easy to do cheshbonos in that way. So 1080. So basically, you have every month. It takes the moon 29 days plus 12 hours plus 796 out of 1080, 793 out of 1080, which it comes out to 44 minutes around. So now, if you take that, right, those 44 minutes, not really 44 because there's going to be a little bit of a remainder, but over 3 years, that adds up to, when it's over a year, let's say 40 minutes every month, right? Every month, which is not accounted for. So you have to times that by 12, right? So it's around 8 hours a year. Times 3 years is already 24 hours, which is another day. So every 3 years, you're going to have to add a day, right? So Kerem, how could you tell me that it's only 4 days or 5 days? What about that every third year, right? You're going to have to add a day, so it's going to be an extra day. What do you mean? So says the Gemara, also, the day of the hours, the Yomei d'Tlas Shani, and the day of every 30 years. So also every 30 years, the remainder, it's not exactly, right, because it's Tashtak Chalakim, so it's not exactly, there's even more of a remainder. And that you can only take care of after every 30 years, it becomes another day, right? So every 30 years becomes another day, so what are you going to do about that day too? When it's according to Kerem, also every 30 years you have an extra day. So Vaita is the same kasha on Kerem, says Gemara, no, Kevin the Leisa b'chol shasa, since you don't have it in every single year, loika choshev, he doesn't count that. He means on a regular year. He's right. He means on a regular year when you don't have that extra added up day that comes because of all our baggage, right? So he means on the regular day. Okay. Says more of Shmuel sarva like Ravuna. Shmuel also has like Ravuna. You could have two extra mubarim. So it means you could have really 2 extra days in the year. You don't have a lunar year that's less than 352. Now more than 356. So 354 is the least, 352 is the least, 356 is the most. Right? 354 is regular. If you have 29, 30, you can do regular year, so then it's going to be 354. But if you take Haketz, the Gemara says, Shneim Milayim, if you added 2 days, so it's Shisha, 356. Right? If you took away 2 days, Shneim Chaserim, so it's Shneim Chaserim, so it's 352, right? Echad Malav Echad Chaser Arba. Echad Malav Echad Chaser Arba means 354, right? That's regular. Right? And it's the same exact discrepancies. When it's 350 is divisible by 7. Right? 350 is divisible by 7. So if you have on a regular year, there's 4. Right? So the 4 is the remainder. Like the Kerem said, the 4 is the remainder. They always has to be a regular year. But Shmuel is saying, no, you could have a 6, you could have a remainder of 6, because really you could add 2 mubarim, so it's going to be 356 day year, and we'll give you a remainder of 6. Or you can take away, which will only give you a remainder of 2, 352. Okay. Meisive asks the Gemara, Hareini Nazir Yomei Sachama. If the Mishnah, the Brisa says that if your guy says, I want to be a Nazir like Yomei Sachama, the amount of days of Yomei Sachama, so Moinen Nazirus Gimel Me'as v'shishim v'chamisha yom. 365 days. By the in the solar month, the solar year is 365 and a quarter days. So I mean, also in the solar year we have to do. That's why Gregory and that's why Pope Gregory added another day to was it February sometimes he added a day. But that also comes in the cheshbon of Birkas Hashan and Mechule. I'm just saying whatever. It's the same issue comes up in the solar year. But either way, the regular solar year is 365 full days, right? So therefore he's chayiv to do Nazir is 365 days. If he says Ki Maisal Vana, so then Moine Nazir is Gimel Me'as v'Chamishim v'Arba 354, right? 354 days. Says the Gemara Communion Maisal Vana, like the days of a lunar year. Says the Gemara V'Misa Zimni Demishkachas Lashisha. Sometimes you'll find 6. Right? Harei Shmuel said you can do 356. Rabuna holds 356. So how do you know why 354? Says the Gemara, you're right. But B'Nidarim, the Zirus is a neder when he's needed to be a nazir. By Nidarim, the rule is also halach achar l'shay b'nei adam. You should go by the regular what people mean, what they mean when they talk, right? So what he means, the Rav Shanim, most of the years are 354, and that's the regular year. So that's the standard. The way people relate to lunar years, the standard of 354. So we say that's what he meant. Says the Gemara about Rabbi Sabbath like Rabbi, even Rabbi HaKadosh held like Rabbi. The Tanya. We have a brayso that says Ma'asav Asa Rabbi Tisho Chaserim. Rabbi did 9 Chaserim. So they ask how could he do 9? I thought we said he can't do 9, he can only do 8, right? But Ma'asav Rabbi did 9 Chaserim, right? What happened? He did 9 Chaserim in 1 year. The Nira Chodesh Bizmanoi, but still everything came out perfect. The Rosh Hashanah, the next Rosh Hashanah, the moon came. The Mila was exactly on Rosh Hashanah. So Rebbe was Tameya, right? So Rebbe Tameya. The Omer Asinu Tisha Chaseir. We did 9 Chaseir and V'nir Chodesh Bizmanoi. How does that make sense? Adrabah, we should be 3 days. We should be 3 days ahead of the moon, right? So how did it come out? How did it come out perfect? So Rabbi Shimon, the Rebbe, so his son Rabbi Shimon told him, Shema Shana Muberes. So maybe the pshat is that the previous year was a Shana Muberes, or this year. But this year it's Shana Muberes. V'ibra Shana Lamed. So you added a day. You added another. You have an extra day. So you caught up, right? You caught up 1 day. And Yishtaked. And last year Asinu Shnei Malayan. And last year we did 2 Malayim also. So he says last year we did 2 Malayim plus the extra one of this year. So we're Vayta that caught up. Plus of Bahadei Plus of that plus of Bahadei Plus. So you take away 3 of the Malayim Bahadei Plus of the Chaserim that we just did, right? He did 9 Chaserim, which means that he added 3. He took away 3 days of the year. So he says, yeah, you took away 3 days of the year, but it was already Gicheshvan because last year you added 2, right? And plus the Shana Muberes added another one, so we're good. The Kom Leviduchte and everything worked out perfectly in its place. Amarle, he tells him back, Ner Yisrael, the light of Israel. He called his Reb Shimon Rebbe, Ner Yisrael. You're the candle of Israel. You're right. Can't have it. That's talking what it was. Okay. Now we understand how he was able to do Tisha Chodashim. Why he was able to do Tisha? Because really, it was cheshbon. In that, you're only allowed to do 9. You're only not allowed to do 9, right? If it's a regular schedule. But if for whatever reason last year you did extras, right? So then you could make up for it. Right? The question is still: is Rebbe was himself didn't remember?
Yeah, well, if he did it,
so why didn't he remember? Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Okay.